I'm so proud of your success so far and what you're creating, the representation you're creating for female founders and founders in Ohio.
I'm a professional beggar. That's what I was. You have to not be afraid to put your hat out there and be like, I need this. You know, you have payroll, you have people.
And you have a lot of proof of concept early on. It makes it quite an easy investment.
Now we're at a total of 18 million raised. But we're different than our competitors.
My parents have neighbors that have a mile-long driveway. And so, you know, that last mile is quite a big deal.
You actually are not allowed to fly cargo for compensation. You can be fined by the FAA. So you're really doing all this marketing and you're just giving money away.
That is the ultimate moat.
Yeah.
Essentially. But no, those are some huge companies to be next to logo-wise. And I'm sure that opens the door to even much more demand.
As a female, I am actually not comfortable in front of the camera, but I love seeing the drone. A drone comes into the neighborhood. It's like a concert let out.
Welcome to the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by GrowthExpertz. You're in store for a chat about funding, marketing, startups, and all things growth.
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome back to the Funded Now What podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lee Miller, also known as Andrew Startups. And I'm very excited today for several reasons. But Beth Flippo has joined us, the CEO and founder of Dexa. It's a drone last mile delivery startup, which might sound crazy to you, but will be the absolute norm for you and your family very, very soon. So Beth, thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah, absolutely. And
thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm more excited because, as I just told you right before we started recording, Beth is an Ohio founder, which we don't get. I think you might be the first one on the show. And for anybody that doesn't know me and my background, I'm born and raised in a small town in Ohio. Beth, you ever heard of Dublin, Ohio?
Yes, I have. That's nice. Yeah, I am not from Ohio, though.
Okay.
I'm a cheater. I came here 5 years ago. I'm originally from New York City.
Okay.
And our first customer is Kroger. And I was stalking Kroger from New York to Cincinnati. And when we signed a contract with them, I moved my whole family, 4 kids, my husband, all the way to Southwest Ohio. And it's been great ever since.
That's a great move.
So
my dad is actually from Brooklyn. And his family made that move many years ago. Yeah, I think that's an awesome.
My parents are from Brooklyn, so yeah.
Nice, more and more in common. Well, I did the opposite. I left Ohio a long time ago, but I still go back to try and help out with the startup scene and do events. And so either way, I'm super proud for the representation that you create as a founder being based from there. But what an amazing first client. For anybody that doesn't know, if you're based in like California and Kroger's not out there, it's like the Safeway of the Midwest, and I think one of the biggest grocery conglomerates in the world.
It is.
I'm going to table that because I want to know how you got that as an early client. But first, explain what I didn't mention about the company and what led you there to starting this. It's not like a first founder mission, I'm sure. You know, I saw you've done a lot before this, but how did you land on this business?
Yeah. So how far do you want me to go back? Do you want me to go from where I began, or you want me just to start from this? Because it's been a lot.
Version.
You know, life is made up of all of your. Well, I went to engineering school. I'm an embedded software developer, so I specifically write code for microelectronics, microcontrollers. So that leads to a lot of mobility, a lot of robotics. That's just my thing. But after graduating, I went to work in banking, which is what everybody does when you're from New York. So I worked at Goldman Sachs, and I was downtown on 9/11 and left Goldman to go work for Cantor Fitzgerald, which had lost the most employees on 9/11. And that really, there was no help. There was nobody to turn to. And that really spurred my entrepreneurship because you really had to learn how to do everything on your own. And after 5 years after that, my father, who had a defense contracting business, asked me to come help him run to run the business. And he's still around working at Dexa, actually. But defense, we did it. I worked at that company for about a decade. But I always wanted to do something commercial. I wasn't so into defense at that time. So I made this wireless mesh network with the team that allowed drones to talk to each other in the sky with only, with no connection to the ground or even one connection to the ground. So it was great for drone swarming. And I put it up on our website for, drones for the military. And instead, all these commercial drone delivery customers were reaching out to me wanting to buy
Wow.
this radio. So I'm like, I think there's really a need here for this. And so I told my dad, I want to spin this off. I want to create a commercial drone delivery company. I'm going to hire drone people, drone designers, and I'm going to build the brain, and it's going to be the greatest thing ever. He said, sure, you get me a customer that actually wants drone delivery, and I will you spin it off. So
Wow.
Amazon had just bought Whole Foods, and they were doing it for drone delivery for grocery. So I started looking at all the grocery stores. There's no Kroger, like you're saying, by me in the Northeast at all. But just based on the numbers, within 3 miles of every Kroger, you reach 100 million people. So a third of the U.S. population lives within a very comfortable drone distance from a Kroger location. So I just started stalking them from New York, bringing my 4 kids out to Southwest Ohio. They thought Cincinnati was like some exotic destination. We'd stay at the Great Wolf Lodge, and go to Kings Island and all that. And they thought it was great. But now they know that they were scammed. But we signed a contract about a year. Right. They know they got the short end of the stick. But once we signed a contract, I moved my family. We left at that point, we were in New Jersey. We had a big house right outside of the city, and we left it all behind. We left a 5,000
for a way
square
bigger
foot
house in Ohio.
And moved into, well, actually, in the time, it was a 3-bedroom apartment with 6 of us sleeping on air mattresses because we didn't really. I wanted to put all the money into the company. That was the goal, to not have to have a salary. And now we have a home, still not that big, but it's been great. I met amazing people here. Kroger picked a store in Dayton, and that's how the company ended up in Dayton more than Cincinnati.
Such a crazy
Longer
place
than 2
to be.
minutes, I know, but that's the whole story.
That's amazing. And just for everybody listening, Beth's company has raised damn near $20 million seed round. And I love that intro before even I say that, is stalking a company that should be using you is a great way to create value quickly. It becomes an offer rather than an ask when you approach it like that. It's like, look, Amazon is doing this, Whole Foods is doing this. You're probably not thinking of it. I'm sure Kroger has, no offense to them, no internal innovation hardware development team that's going to try and compete with anything like that. So you brought them a massive value in the sense that they saved years of wasted millions on internal R&D, and you just put it right in their lap. And so it's a no-brainer, and that's amazing. Let's talk about the fundraising round because, okay, now that you're from New York, it makes a little more sense to me. But I was like, how did this lady in Ohio? But what are the nuances to being a female founder and being based in the Midwest and raising a seed round that big?
So all of the raising was done in the Midwest. I didn't get any credit or any support from being a New Yorker at all. We bootstrapped it through Kroger. So we got Kroger, we started flying for them. And I said to my parents, I need to do a round of funding. We can't keep bootstrapping this. We had Papa John's that wanted to come in. We had a lot of customers reaching out. So we did our first seed round in a $5 million in 21. And I will tell everybody that raising money that first time, it's like being dragged on broken glass. Like there's no way to describe it. People are tearing your dream apart. You're trying to pitch to people. You don't even know really exactly what you're pitching yet. And they are just tearing into everything. And luckily, we found a great lead investor for the seed that has been with us through all of this. And we were able to raise that first 5. But I tell everybody, nobody will be able to raise money for you. You have to do it all yourself. And a lot of startups, I think, make that mistake, is that they listen to investment banks. They listen to all these consultants, all these people that will raise for them. And unfortunately, that will never work. You only eat what you kill when it comes to fundraising. And you have to be willing to give up everything. I am a professional beggar. That's what I was. You have to not be afraid to put your hat out there and be like, I need this. You have payroll, you have people. It's had to learn how to do it. And after that, we reopened the seed, raised another 5 million in 23, and we just did another one in 25, another 5 million. And just in the past couple months, because of this demand that we're getting from everywhere, we did another
Wow.
3 million. So now we're at a total of 18 million raised. And but we're different than our competitors. And the reason why we were able to do it is that we didn't fly around for marketing. We stopped a lot of the programs where until you are an airline, you can't make money. You're not allowed. You actually are not allowed to fly cargo for compensation. You can be fined by the FAA. So you're really doing all this marketing and you're just giving money away. You're giving your company away. So we decided as a company to just put our heads down, do a couple of pilot programs just to prove out the tech, but focus on certification. And that really paid off. We became an airline in April.
Wow.
We got our drone certified. It's on the Secretary of Transportation's S1 list, which is the highest level of unmanned certification.
Wow.
And with those two certificates together, there's only 4 of us in the country.
I was going to say
Amazon, Google Wings, Zipline, and us.
Wow, that's an incredible
it's a big
achievement.
deal.
That is the ultimate moat.
Yeah.
Essentially. But no, those are some huge companies to be next to logo-wise. And I'm sure that opens the door to even much more demand. Sounds like you're doing everything the right way. And I would say that there's a little bit of New York benefiting a lot of those confident decision makings and ability to bag and stuff.
Well, I got a lot of money from the Midwest. We have a lot of high net worth individuals. People discount people in the Midwest. And I didn't take advantage of that, but I saw that these are people that they want to invest just as much as everybody else. And they're excited about technology and the opportunity. And I really,
there's also
so a lot of our
less
investors
competition.
are my friends. They're people.
Yeah,
absolutely. There's a lot less
No,
competition, which some of these people, I was the first time anybody'd asked them.
That's amazing. No, I think that also having like an early client like Kroger and it's showing that it works is an ultimate LOI at the beginning. I mean, like you have a lot of proof of concept early on. It makes it quite an easy investment. Also in the Midwest, people don't live in such highly densely populated areas. Like, my parents have neighbors that have a mile-long driveway. And so, that last mile is quite a big deal for them. So I could see it mattering a lot more.
I watch people take the ATV to get the mail.
Yeah, exactly.
They drive their ATVs, right? Like that's how you get to your mailbox.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Well, that's really incredible. And I guess I want to dive in a little deeper on how it's working with Kroger, because I never thought of them as an innovative company. I can imagine the early customers like, what? Oh my God, there's a drone. Most people in Ohio still never seen a driverless car, which is really normal for us here in San Francisco. My cousins were just visiting and they were like blown away, and it's years old tech to us. And so I would imagine customers aren't really ready. So how big is a sample that they're testing with, and what has the feedback been with Kroger?
So we tested with them back in 21 and people loved it. I mean, that's one thing that's great about the product that I'm selling is everybody wants it. Everybody loves seeing the drone. A drone comes into the neighborhood. It's like a concert let out. People are running down the street. You're getting orders from so many other people. They're tailgating and sitting in the parking lot watching the drones take off from the Kroger parking lot.
Wow.
We have not, anywhere we've gone, in Papa John's, we were in Atlanta, and we've never had any negativity, ever. People are so excited. They know this is a better tech. And they're even in the Midwest. I mean, again, this is Dayton where aviation came from. So a lot of these people are raised with it in their blood.
True.
But yeah, nobody had any concerns. They really, really liked it. And now our goal, though, is to get to cities. Our goal is not to operate drones in rural environments. And our competition do believe that's the way to go. They are trying to operate in suburbs of suburbs. Yeah, and we are not. Our goal, we have one partner that we're going to be very close to New York City, right outside New York City. And our goal is to get into New York, into the boroughs, because when you're from there, even if you can get through the traffic, you're not going to find a parking space. So it's really a need that you don't have in rural
Yeah.
environments. You can always get in the car, but you can't
Interesting
do that here, in the
thing.
cities.
I could just
So
see
no.
higher densely populated areas like neighbors mixing orders together too, and like the drone carrying multiple packages as opposed to a flight for just one item in the rural areas. So that there's bigger need, more orders, more drones flying. Well, sounds like you're already crushing it on the marketing side, so you might not need any help that I can provide. So it might be a shorter.
We always need.
Okay, well, let's hone in on that. I mean, if demand is just flying through the roof and customers are just super excited, maybe it's not top of the funnel marketing, but I think, when you're in a world where every other company is a world famous brand, there's other three that have that S1 license, there is a need to start gaining some market share and get awareness on what you're doing and building from Dayton, Ohio. So maybe that's the marketing issue, but what on your end do you feel is the biggest marketing challenge for your company right
So that we have a lot of customers coming to us, but really we're trying to educate people. We're trying to get people to know we exist. We're trying to get investors to know who we are. And like you're saying, it's hard when you're going up against billion dollar companies where, who Mark Rober is. He's the
now?
glitter bomb
Yeah,
guy. Zipline paid for him to go see their factory.
I
Like,
saw
I
that
don't even
video.
want to know how much they paid for that.
Half a
And we
mil,
don't have that kind of money, and probably, and we never had that kind of money, and I wouldn't have spent my investors' money on stuff like that, on
right.
cheap marketing like that. But I want to believe there's like a grassroots way to do this marketing, and nobody owns the name in drone delivery yet. Someday you're going to say, oh, just exit, and or whatever. But we're hoping it's us. And we think if we do this marketing right, where we go through social media channels and do earned media, not paid media, we have a better shot than the billion-dollar companies that are buying up all the articles and everything. And that's the unique thing that I think we're really trying to do here. As a female, I am actually not comfortable in front of the camera, but getting better. But a lot, women use social media better so I'm hoping that maybe that's an advantage, because it's always hurt me on the engineering side, on the raising money side. And I'm like, maybe this grassroots kind of marketing through social media, maybe this will finally be a strength
Okay,
for me running this company. So
okay,
that's what we're really trying to do, to create interesting content and get people to want to follow our story of what we're doing here.
okay. Love that, and I agree. I mean, I think that when you have a naturally interesting story, there's a lot of opportunity for earned media. I think Zipline's probably raised a lot more than $20 million, and when you get to several hundreds of millions or whatever raised in,
850
yeah,
million.
exactly. Then you can spend $1 million on Mark Rober and do YouTubey things just to get the brand out there. But I agree with you. That's a very foolish way to spend the money, because Mark Rober's followers are like 10-year-olds. They might be the people that order down the line. From what
And
I
my
saw
kids.
from yeah, yeah. From what I saw from Zipline was I saw their PR actually to talk about earned media on the campaigns they're doing in rural Africa to deliver products, and that's how the name stood out to me. So I agree with you that PR is a really big opportunity. Let's start with it. The first thing you always do is a massive PR campaign around this. Did you have someone leading that at your company, and have you gone to like the tech crunches of the world with that story?
We haven't had a lot of luck on getting into the print journalism
Okay,
side of it.
perfect.
So we did do an announcement, and some people did hear about it, but it hasn't reached as many as I feel like it can, this story. Because again, it's like we're like this tiny little company that nobody had even heard of, raised only 15 and was able to get the same domestic air carrier license to be an airline that billion-dollar companies. Like, I always felt like that is such a big story, but
I was just
a
gonna
lot of it
say,
is still pay to play, and we don't do that. So we're trying to find a way to get to these journalists when they're at home on Instagram as opposed to like
Okay.
when they're on the job and having to pay for that.
Perfect. I'm going to teach you how to do that right now. So
All
first of
right,
all,
let's do it.
yes. First of all, you're totally right. That is a really, really valuable story. And when we have a really valuable story, just like when I teach founders about fundraising, you're trying to switch it every pitch from sales, whatever, dating, anything it is, from an ask to an offer. Nobody wants to book more time on their calendar. But if it's just, here's the press release, check this out, this is a story that you definitely need to tell, it becomes an offer. Check this out. This is an exclusive story for, and so I do think there's a really highly valuable story there. Now, the second question I have is, the lowest hanging fruit is obviously Midwest focused media. Have you tried that? That's not going to be pay to play. Like the Columbus Dispatch is going to want to tell
We
a
got
story
on,
about you.
we do. We've gotten into like business journals and like Dane, we just had a feature done on us by Spectrum News, Spectrum One,
Okay.
which is for the whole state.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. They came to us. But yeah, we'd absolutely need to get into the
National.
cities and Cleveland and all of these local things before we go national, for sure. But we're trying to do that with the smaller budget, but we're trying to own the state and our cities before we start trying to grab everywhere.
Absolutely. No, but I do think that spending a month or two on actively putting in blood, sweat, and tears versus money on pitching to these national media outlets makes sense. So let me try and break it down to a digestible amount of work for on the side of being a founder and doing everything. The number one thing I recommend someone in your position do, I'm getting a sense that we don't want to spend money on marketing, so don't go and hire someone. But being in Dayton, there's a university right there. And those students are never going to get an opportunity to work with a startup as cool as yours anywhere else in the state. So creating an internship program where interns that are getting a marketing degree, that are getting a general business degree, can come and actually execute these marketing strategies really is something that I've seen catapult a young person's career, because they're able to build a marketing portfolio and actually show that they have some experience when they go on the job market, which is what they don't get in college. So I get a lot of vitriol and bad hate messages when I post about unpaid internships on LinkedIn, but it's the thing that catapulted my career. And I continue after 20 years to offer those opportunities. And every single kid gets like $50,000 to $75,000 a year after a 3-month internship. So it's a really big game changer. And
That's great.
with that, you're looking for a super autonomous kid, someone that has great written and verbal English abilities. And then beyond that, you're using ChatGPT to really create a playbook for them. You're making them AI enabled. They're able to do quite a lot. A little bit of management from your end is necessary, but it shouldn't cost any money. On the PR side, what I would have this kid work on is, one, building a list of all of the media that we want to contact. There's a million ways to build the list. Like a lot of reporters have their email and their Twitter. You can scrape it off of LinkedIn using the various tools like Apollo and Zoom info, et cetera, or you can purchase a list on the internet and clean it out. But the manual building of the list is really the best thing because it's most updated. You can also DM people on Twitter. You're talking about using social media. You can find these reporters on whatever social platforms they're on and say, hey, we're working on a really cool story. I think you would be really interested. Can I send you the press release? It is their job to say yes to that. They have to review positive inbound opportunities. So I always use a vague message. If they need more details, it's about a female founder. She just raised $18 million to compete with Zipline and other drone delivery companies, and she's already closed Kroger. They're going to be like, what? Oh yeah, of course I'll check that out. This is not a little tiny startup that is just at idea phase. This is a future billion-dollar company that is already working with a $50 billion company, or I don't know what Kroger's numbers are, but I grew up one of those people that was within walking distance to Kroger. So that was our only grocery store back in the day in my small town of 3,000 people. So you're building that list and then you're working on that story. And, I'm able to do it on the fly, but with ChatGPT and with some massaging, the idea is that I think the story about again, female founder, moved her whole family, closed this huge client and to compete with these billion-dollar companies, but also with way less money raised. And, it's like the David and Goliath story there. There's a lot to squeeze juice-wise in that. But beyond all that, the lowest hanging fruit is just pitching to the right people at TechCrunch. We raised this amount of money, like it's a large amount of money. Maybe it wasn't all in one go, but they should want to tell that story. Like honestly, they just, okay, cool. Yeah, here's your press release. Yeah, 10-minute phone call. So I would recommend reaching out to Anna Heim, even though her name sounds like Anaheim. She's not in America, but she's like the lead startups reporter at TechCrunch, and she's very actively covering funding rounds. So usually what we do is we get local media first. Then there's a funding round, you get TechCrunch, and then we use that TechCrunch link to then pitch to everybody else. And they kind of just go, oh shit, TechCrunch covered them. We should also write about this company. Podcasts are also low hanging fruit. And it's really easy to build a list of podcasters that you might want to be on the show, actively reach out, get a bunch more interviews. And then that way, when you reach out to the media, the physical media reporters that you're talking about, they're more likely to cover if they Google and they see more content that's already written. Nobody wants to be the first company to talk about you unless it's like the funding situation, then they definitely want to be the first. So I think PR is helpful for getting the name out because it really adds a lot of validation. But as far as organic social media, I disagree that, as you mentioned, it's pay to play. I disagree that you're going to get wild exposure for free. You do need to. There's a reason Mark Zuckerberg is like the richest dude in the world. It's not because you can go viral very easily for free. It's because you got to pay for everything. So I think PR is a good strategy, but I would not be dependent on social media doing anything. How many followers do you have right now?
So we just started this. So I have two. We have the company Fly Dexa Insta, and we have the my personal. And I don't know how many we have right now on the Fly Dexa, but me personally, I'm only up to like 130.
You got to start
because
somewhere.
I just started trying to get out there. I hired an Instagram coach, and she's wonderful. Her name is Subi Zimmerman, and she is like the Instagram coach if you Google it. And she's been really helping me understand how to put myself out there and how to get past not having your hair done and not having your nails done and just giving authentic content that people want to see. And it's been transitional really since we brought her in. So
okay, well, Subi's not going to like what I have to say.
I'm growing. It's going.
It's going. I think Instagram can be powerful for a founder profile, but I totally disagree with the focus on Instagram as a future billion-dollar B2B business. LinkedIn is God in that area, and Subi can argue with me.
We do LinkedIn too.
Okay, that's good.
No, we have both. We have Insta, we have LinkedIn, we have Facebook, and we do Twitter. So
I meant
we
even
have
hiring a coach.
But
I would X my investment on LinkedIn versus Instagram because LinkedIn is where your VCs are. LinkedIn is where your decision makers are, your future customers that are spying on what Kroger's doing. They're on LinkedIn. They're not on Instagram. They're not on Instagram during the workday. Everybody is on Instagram on a personal level, but the intent and the psychology of being on the platform is very low ticket in general. Like I'm generalizing, but I've worked with hundreds of startups over the past 20 years. So I feel like I have qualitative data to do that. And I'm sure she's a fantastic coach, and you can get a lot of benefit from having a large Instagram in the sense of speaking engagements and, just being quoted in the media more. But I believe very strongly in 2026, a large Instagram following is less valued than a large LinkedIn following for the space that we're in, which is B2B. So I would say the biggest two trends in marketing in 2026 are one, LinkedIn marketing, which there's 5 pieces inside of it that I teach, and I'll go back to that in a second. And then the second thing is what I call GEO. Are you aware of what GEO is? No. Okay. So the future of SEO, search engine optimization, making your business coming up on AI, when your potential customers, all these enterprise large businesses are using AI tools for vendor research. I'm director of delivery or whatever at a big company. My CEO is like, hey, we need to talk to 10 vendors or the 4 approved vendors for last mile delivery. They don't go and do research manually on their own anymore. And I'm seeing this across the board. Like the higher the ticket, the more expensive the deal, the more they're trusting Chat GPT. So we figured out how to ethically massage those AI search tools to recommend our businesses, and that's what we call generative engine optimization. That is the biggest burgeoning marketing channel of the year. But we started working on that at GrowthExpertz in April of last year, and now that's the only way we get leads as a business is from AI. When people are like, "Hey, what marketers should I talk to for my startup?" I come up because of the content that we created for that. And so that's another way for your business to get ahead is to create content around. So Dexa versus Zipline, the differences in the technology, the differences in the cost, solutions, abilities. And you create a lot of this content, top last mile delivery companies, top last mile delivery startups, all the different variations of what someone might ask ChatGPT is like the headlines of these articles that you create on your own website. And you'll, if now that I talk about it, you'll see that next time you go to any company that's doing B2B software's website, if you scroll down to the bottom, you usually see a large footer of all of these types of pages. So for the construction industry, for the hospitality industry, they make those pages for search discovery. And that is actually really powerful because we don't want to only rely on outbound to drive those leads. It will definitely work, but it only works maybe 10% of people that you reach out to are ready. They can't build it internally. Timing has to really be right with a lot of that outbound lead generation, which is also a big part of the LinkedIn marketing that I was mentioning. But we want them when they're doing research to be able to discover your business. That is the fastest sales cycle. There's only 4, like you mentioned. So they're going to meet with all 4 that are relevant. And then you have the opportunity as a smaller business. I'm sure one of the unique selling points is that you care more about the deal because you're not a $1 billion company yet. And so I think the little startup wins a lot of those calls. So you want to be included in all of those RFPs when the company knows what they're looking for, but doesn't know your name. So that's what we call GEO, generative engine optimization. On the
Yeah.
LinkedIn, great. On the LinkedIn marketing, there's 4 or 5 core elements to blowing up on LinkedIn, which I think is really important, but also like you should be one of the biggest voices in as a female founder, raising a ton of money, going after first of all, also in hardware, way harder to be a founder in that space. I have a female founder friend that's raising money right now in the robotics space. It's difficult. I think extra difficult. So I could see
Yeah.
you and your background is incredible as an engineer. And so you should really be a leading voice in multiple avenues in there. And so whatever Subi is doing for you on Instagram, I would recommend recycling that content for a LinkedIn strategy as well. Maybe not as much
We
video.
do.
It's
We do.
nice.
We actually, yeah, we are where everything we're doing is across both. Yeah, but each one is different depending on what the audience would want to see on LinkedIn versus Insta. But yeah, the content we're still producing a lot for our LinkedIn too.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that sounds costly, but
Yeah.
basically with LinkedIn, a lot of text content. You can use AI. You can train a GPT on your voice if you've written a lot of posts and Subi and you have written a lot of posts. And you can take that GPT and make a month's worth of content. And then you get a doc and you just need to edit it like 1 day a month and then the post can be scheduled. So again, it's not like a huge undertaking, but at least there's a founder page, organic strategy, and then there's the company page, which is different. You would be talking more about the future of flying and last mile delivery and the problems that you're solving and the problems with the other competitors in the space and about being a female founder and about fundraising. And the company would just be talking about the pilots that you're running, the more salesy content of like book a call to get a demo and this and that. And so one part of it is the content that you're posting on your own pages. Another part of LinkedIn is doing automated outreach for lead generation. Are you doing that as a company?
No, because we don't do the same kind of lead generation that everybody else does. Like we actually have we don't even have a sales staff. We have a lot of these stores and restaurants and all these people like coming to us. So we don't do sales in the typical way.
Yeah.
So it's hard, because again, if we worked with everybody, we'd be spending
Overwhelmed.
money all over town. We really have to be very careful, like who we work with, because it's such a new technology. And right now, everybody is 1-to-1, which is one pilot monitoring one aircraft. So even though the aircraft is fully autonomous, he still is sitting behind a computer. But the
Hmm.
goal that the FAA wants is for us to get to 1-to-40, where it's like an air
Wow.
traffic controller at that point. That's where it becomes incredibly
Scalable.
profitable when you are breaking that. So right now, doing it 1-to-1 is even more expensive than somebody in a car sometimes.
Yeah.
So you can't just roll this out. That's why when you do hear our competition saying we're rolling out to hundreds of stores, like that is not what you should be doing if you're trying to make money. Like just having a presence somewhere where it costs you. I had a great investor once say to me, it's like they're selling $1 for 50 cents.
Mm.
And I love that expression because that's something we've never done. We've never just burned cash, we've never said, grow at any cost. Like there's a play here. There's a great way for these drones to become incredibly useful and incredibly profitable, but you need to get there before you start scaling out everywhere.
Makes
So
sense.
that's kind of like what our focus is. So for us to reach out to everybody loves it. I call any store, talk about drone delivery. It's the greatest thing. It's what they all want.
Yeah.
And it's tough because we just can't service all of them.
What
So we don't really have a call to action. We're really just trying to educate people, to get people excited, to get them to sign up saying, I want it in my city kind of thing.
understood?
Not necessarily the typical lead generation that you normally are looking for in marketing with, you want somebody
Okay.
to reach out to you.
So basically, where the
Yeah.
company's
Investor wise,
already,
we would love
yeah.
investors too.
Well, you can do that. You can same strategy for investors. Obviously, there's tools. I've talked about them throughout the podcast. I can't think of one of the names off the top of my head, but there's many, many tools that are under $100 a month for LinkedIn automation. And then you can feed it a sales navigator list of all the potential investors around the Midwest or otherwise. And it literally is, you can just do one message to not pester them. Like, hey, we're going to raise again. We're in $1 billion space. We're one of only 4 companies approved. Thought you might want to be in my network. And then you just grow your LinkedIn network full of organic connections to investors so that the next time you go to raise, you can look through your connections or you can just organically post and you have retained that connection. It makes it quite easy. It's almost like a warm intro because what happens is they accept the connection and then through the months and years of being connected, they're seeing those organic posts that we talked about that you're recycling from Instagram, whatever, and they become aware of the company. But also you grow your following on LinkedIn and then you get a lot of inbound speaking requests and stuff that I mentioned. I mean, bigger podcast opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. So I do think there's value there, even if you're not really just trying to increase the top of the funnel pipeline. But probably there still are logos that you would love to get in front of. And it's great that the response is 100% positive, but I think there's no downside to sending. Again, like I said, the best time to do fundraising or sales or whatever is when you're not desperate. So, hey, inundated with leads and companies that want to work with us. We're limited by these FAA regulations, but we'd still love to show you the product because again, at some point they're going to have that internal discussion at the company. We need to do this. And you don't want them to go look at the other 3 guys before you. You want to be a part of that discussion whenever they're making that decision. So you're limited by what you can do by the guidelines of the FAA, or is that a company constraint, the 1-to-1?
It's an FAA constraint that is actively being worked on, but the FAA wants it to be more. They want it to be like air traffic controllers. They don't want to have just one person. I mean, there's no sticks, there's no remote control. They are
Mhm.
fully autonomous, but they want to get as close to manned aviation as possible. We just have to demonstrate it. So we have the software, we have all the ability to do this. We just need to show 40 aircraft in the air going in all different directions. And that's why we're really trying to find partners that have a lot of volume so we can continue demonstrating that.
Okay.
and how
Well,
that works.
so you don't have those current
Yeah.
partners, or you do?
We do. We
Okay.
do have a lot of partners. We have a lot in the pipeline, which are pretty exciting. But
Nice.
we, yeah, we need to get to that before we can roll out everywhere.
Yeah, of course.
That's where
Awesome.
we
Well,
are.
that's really, really incredible. And, just the steps that you've made in like less than a decade, moving the family, getting a huge client, raising a ton of money multiple times. It's really, really impressive from anywhere, but from Ohio makes me very proud. And yeah, I think that it's a beautiful position to be in, not needing to do marketing, but wanting to get the name out there. Brand awareness marketing is really the easiest. There's other things. I mean, you're on the podcast circuit, so that makes sense. But I'm sure Subi has already talked to you about doing like Instagram lives with, low hanging fruit female founder opportunities. You sound like you have a ton of wisdom to share. I think those things help grow the audience quite a bit as well. But sounds like PR and doubling down on LinkedIn are two places that there could be more of an effort. I highly recommend the intern strategy because I think you're great on camera as an interviewer and you've made strides in that compared to what you were saying. But you can't do everything, especially as an engineer. You got to be focused on the product more than anything and fundraising the next time. And so there's a nice bi-directional trade with the intern stuff because what an amazing opportunity to work under a founder like you for a kid in Dayton. They're never going to expect that there's a future billion-dollar company in their backyard. So creating that opportunity, I think, would really be helpful for those kids. And their energy levels and output is just unbelievable because they're just so energetic and ready to create. And yeah, there's almost no chance that they don't get an amazing job after they can show versus the kids that graduate and can't show what they can do. So I think that'll really help you be able to fire the marketing on all cylinders. Is there any other marketing related questions or queries that I could help answer while you're here?
This has been great. And I don't want you thinking that we don't have to do any marketing. We absolutely do. Everything you're saying is right. To get in front of, I would love to get more speaking engagements. I would love to get onto more podcasts, get the voice out there is just as important, talking about drones. Some people don't even think drone delivery exists,
Right.
and that's something like we're really trying to break through is just as important as, if I had, a toaster to sell and I'm like trying to get leads on it. It's just as important to us and to the industry as a whole so that
Hmm.
people keep wanting it and they get excited about it. So when you come to their area, they want drone delivery. So marketing is very important to us. And we are trying all these different avenues to do it without having to buy a lot. I do agree
Yeah.
with you. It's not something that's going to be all earned media, but we're going to, I like the internship idea,
Yeah.
but, like you're saying, kids don't want to work for free,
No, I mean,
which
no, you'd be
is
surprised. It's
I
not
don't think
about
you're
working.
allowed, honestly, to not pay them anymore. You have to go through the school, I think, if you do that, where they earn credit,
I'm going to
I
leave
think
that for
is,
another conversation,
yeah.
but it's not about getting
Okay.
kids to work for free. It's about providing training for free. So they're getting trained. I mean, it might be different
That's true.
so I have a coaching program where I'm coaching the student on learning all the digital marketing channels. So that is the trade. I'm not charging that student for that training and they're getting to build a marketing portfolio by executing these lessons for they do that in college as well, like, a college business study program, but they don't get to execute PR, paid advertising, content marketing, create a social media strategy, do an SEO audit of this business, create these blog posts according to this future GEO strategy. And that really helps separate them from kids that are fresh graduates to I've had this job where here's all the things that I did. So it's definitely, again, switching it from an ask to an offer. It's the it's the least financially rewarding thing that I've ever done in my career, and the most personally rewarding thing is, you know, probably over 100 kids now
That's nice.
careers were started by that program. So again, like I said, I do get some hate online about it, but I have the videos thanking me from all these kids around the world, from India to here and back, that have built. It's really hard as a fresh graduate, by the way, like to be like, I have this experience, but the companies want tangible experience and you're a fresh graduate. And that's one of the problems right now too, is a company is more likely to hire like a mid-level person and enable them with AI than anyone super senior or super junior. And so, yeah, I will die on that hill. But so it's not free work. You can offer to give a stipend as well, but in my experience, that actually degrades the output a little bit because you want someone whose parents are helping them out. They know that this is a really important bridge to the career that they want. It's not like just trying to get free work from a kid because that's not going to be good. When I do interviews for those unpaid internships, I actually ask them, what are the channels you want to become an expert at? And that's how they get the job. They don't know the channels that are important for the company yet, but if it's aligned with what they want to learn, then this is going to be a huge stepping stone really, because I have 20 years experience and I'm going to make them an expert in 3 months at those things. Just want to make sure that everyone listening understands I'm not out here just trying to get free work, but it's a unbelievable opportunity for a fresh graduate to come and all of a sudden land at a company that's raised 20 million or 18 point whatever million dollars. And a founder from New York is also a rarity in Dayton, Ohio. And so you got to flip the mindset to you have the pick of the litter of the best kids at UD for sure. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
Beth.
Yeah. UD's a great school.
It is. It is. I mean, back in the day, it was pretty crazy party school, but I'm sure that's changed quite a bit. I don't know. I don't remember any of the times I was there. That's all I need to say. But Beth, it was an absolute pleasure having you here. I'm so proud of your success so far and what you're creating, the representation you're creating for female founders and founders in Ohio. And I'm excited to follow along with your journey and watch you become one of those famous billion-dollar logos amongst Zipline and the other ones. So thank you again, and I really appreciate it.
So thank you for having me. I love this. Have a great weekend.
You too.
That has been another episode of the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by GrowthExpertz. If you liked this episode, please subscribe. And if you really liked it, please share with other founders and entrepreneurs. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.